When Michael Jordan opened his front door that cold March morning, he couldn't believe his eyes. Standing before him was Danny Rodriguez, the same man who almost ended his legendary career in 1993. But this wasn't the proud athlete Michael remembered. Danny was thin, dirty, and desperate. He had lost everything and was living on the streets. What Danny was about to tell Michael would shake the basketball world forever. A secret about their famous playoff battle. A truth about Michael's father's death. And a dangerous criminal organization that had been fixing games for 30 years. Michael had two choices: turn away the man who once tried to destroy his dreams, or listen to the most shocking confession in sports history. His decision would surprise everyone who thought they knew the real Michael Jordan. The tall iron gates of Michael Jordan's Highland Park mansion stood like silent guards against the cold March wind. Snow covered the perfectly cut grass. The big house sat at the end of a long driveway, hidden from the busy Chicago streets. Marcus Williams had worked as a security guard at the mansion for 8 years. He knew every sound, every shadow, every person who came to visit. But on this Tuesday morning, something felt different. At 9:30 a.m., Marcus was drinking his hot coffee in the small guardhouse. He was reading the sports news on his phone when he saw movement near the front gate. A man was walking slowly up the long driveway. The man looked very thin. His clothes were old and dirty. His jacket had holes in it. His shoes were falling apart. Snow crunched under his feet as he walked. Marcus put down his coffee and stepped outside. "Sir," he called out, "this is private property. You can't be here." The man kept walking. He didn't seem to hear Marcus. Or maybe he was just too tired to care. Marcus jogged over to the man. Up close, he could see that the visitor looked sick. His face was very pale. His eyes looked empty and sad. But there was something about him that seemed familiar. "Sir, I need you to leave," Marcus said more gently. "Mr. Jordan isn't taking visitors today." The man finally stopped walking. He looked up at Marcus with tired eyes. "Please," the man said, in a quiet voice. "I need to see Michael. Tell him it's Danny Rodriguez." Marcus felt his heart skip a beat. That name sounded very familiar. Where had he heard it before? "Do you have an appointment?" Marcus asked. The man shook his head. "I don't have a phone. I don't have anything left. But Mike will remember me. We used to play basketball together." Marcus looked at the man more carefully. "Basketball player?" This thin, sick-looking man used to play basketball. "Wait here," Marcus said. "I'll call the house." But before Marcus could make the call, the front door of the mansion opened. Michael Jordan stepped outside. He was wearing a nice gray suit and looked ready to leave for a business meeting. Michael saw Marcus talking to someone near the gate. This was unusual. Most visitors came in cars and called ahead. "Marcus, what's going on?" Michael called out as he walked toward them. "This man says he knows you, Mr. Jordan," Marcus said. "Says his name is Danny Rodriguez." Michael stopped walking. His face went white like he had seen a ghost. "Danny," Michael whispered. The thin man looked up. "Hello, Mike. It's been a long time." Michael stared at the man for a full minute without saying anything. His mouth was open, but no words came out. This couldn't be Danny Rodriguez. The Danny Rodriguez Michael remembered was strong and fast. He was a great basketball player with a bright smile and expensive clothes. That Danny Rodriguez almost beat Michael Jordan in the 1993 playoffs. But this man looked like he hadn't eaten a good meal in weeks. His hair was gray and messy. His hands were dirty and shaking. "What happened to you?" Michael asked softly to Danny's eyes filled with tears. "Everything fell apart, Mike. I lost it all." Michael looked around quickly. He could see neighbors walking their dogs across the street. A few cars were driving by slowly. The drivers were looking at the famous basketball player talking to a homeless man. "Come inside," Michael said quickly. "We need to talk privately." Danny nodded. "Thank you, Mike. I wasn't sure you'd want to see me." "Of course I want to see you," Michael said. But his voice sounded confused and worried. Marcus watched as the two men walked toward the mansion. He still couldn't believe what he was seeing. Danny Rodriguez was the same player who gave Michael Jordan his toughest fight in the 1993 Eastern Conference playoffs. Now he was standing at Michael's door looking like he lived on the streets. But Marcus didn't know the real story. He didn't know why Danny had really come to see Michael after 30 years. He didn't know about the terrible secret Danny had been carrying all this time. And Marcus had no idea that this unexpected visit would change both men's lives forever. As the mansion door closed behind Michael and Danny, Marcus walked back to his guardhouse. He picked up his coffee, but it had gone cold. Somehow, he knew this was going to be a very long day. Inside the mansion, Danny Rodriguez was about to tell Michael Jordan a secret that would shake the basketball world. A secret about the 1993 playoffs that would make Michael question everything he thought he knew about his greatest victory. The conversation that was about to happen would lead to danger, chase scenes, and a shocking discovery that would change how people thought about professional basketball forever. But first, Danny had to find the courage to tell Michael the truth about what really happened 30 years ago. Inside the mansion, Michael led Danny to his big living room. The room was huge and beautiful. Shiny basketball trophies sat on shelves everywhere. Pictures of Michael's greatest games covered the walls. 6 NBA championship rings were displayed in a special glass case. Danny sat down slowly on a soft leather chair. He looked around at all the success that surrounded him. Golden awards sparkled in the sunlight coming through the windows. It made Danny feel even worse about his own failed life. "You want some coffee?" Michael asked. "Some food? You look like you haven't eaten in days." "Coffee would be really nice," Danny said quietly. "Thank you, Mike." Michael walked to the kitchen and called his helper, Maria. "Can you bring coffee and some sandwiches to the living room, please? And make the sandwiches big." When Michael came back, he sat down across from Danny. For a moment, neither man spoke. The silence felt heavy between them. "I can't believe you're really here," Michael said finally. "I haven't seen you since the playoffs?" Danny finished the sentence. 1993, Eastern Conference Semifinals. Bulls versus Knicks. Michael nodded slowly. He remembered that basketball series very well. It was one of the hardest 7 games he ever played. Danny Rodriguez had been the star player for the New York Knicks. For those 7 games, Danny played the best basketball of his entire life. Danny was fast like lightning on the court. He could make shots from anywhere. Most importantly, he wasn't scared of Michael Jordan like other players were. While most players got nervous playing against the great Michael Jordan, Danny seemed to play even better. "You were incredible that series," Michael said, smiling a little bit. "I remember Game 4. You scored 45 points that night." Danny's face lit up for the first time since arriving. "You remember that?" "How could I forget?" Michael said. "You made shots that seemed impossible. The crowd in New York went crazy every time you touched the ball. After the game, all the reporters were saying you might be better than me." "Almost beat you," Danny said, but his smile faded quickly. "But almost doesn't count in basketball, does it?" Michael remembered Game 7 like it happened yesterday. It was May 21st, 1993. Madison Square Garden was packed with screaming fans. Everyone knew this would decide who went to the Eastern Conference Finals. Danny had been amazing all series long. In Game 7, with 2 minutes left to play, the Knicks were winning 81-78. Danny had already scored 38 points. Michael had only scored 31 points, which was unusual for him. The crowd was going wild. They thought the Knicks were finally going to beat Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. But then something happened that changed everything. "Your ankle," Michael said softly. Danny looked down at his hands. "Yeah, my ankle." With 1 minute and 47 seconds left in Game 7, Danny tried to make a quick move around Michael. He stepped on another player's foot and twisted his ankle badly. Danny fell to the ground, holding his leg and crying out in pain. The crowd got very quiet. Danny tried to keep playing, but he couldn't run the same way. He was limping badly. Michael saw his chance and took over the game. In the last minute and 47 seconds, Michael Jordan scored 8 straight points. The Bulls won the game 89-87. After the game, Michael was surrounded by reporters and cameras. Everyone wanted to talk to the winner. Danny was in the locker room, sitting alone with ice on his ankle. He was crying, but not because his ankle hurt. He was crying because he knew this was his best chance to beat Michael Jordan, and it was gone. "The doctors said your ankle would heal fine," Michael said. "What happened after that?" Maria brought coffee and thick sandwiches to the living room. Danny ate quickly, like he hadn't eaten in many days. Michael watched him and felt sad. "The ankle never felt the same," Danny said between bites. "The next season, I couldn't jump as high. I couldn't run as fast. I kept thinking it would get better, but it didn't." Michael had heard rumors that Danny struggled after 1993, but he was so busy winning championships that he didn't pay much attention. The Knicks traded me to Detroit after that season, Danny continued. The Pistons said I was too slow. They traded me to Sacramento. Each team I went to, I got worse and worse. By 1995, no NBA team wanted me anymore. What did you do when basketball ended? Michael asked. Danny's face got very dark. I tried coaching high school kids for a few years. That was okay. The kids liked me because I had played in the NBA, but it didn't pay much money. Then what? Michael asked. I used my savings from basketball to open a restaurant, Danny said. I thought it would be easy. I figured people would come eat at a place owned by a former NBA player. Did it work? Michael asked. For about 2 years, Danny said. But I didn't know anything about running a business. I trusted the wrong people. I borrowed money from people I shouldn't have borrowed from. Michael felt a chill run down his back. What kind of people? Dangerous people, Danny said quietly. People who hurt you when you can't pay them back. Danny put down his sandwich and looked directly at Michael. They took everything, Mike. My house, my car, my furniture. They even took my Duke University championship ring. Michael felt shocked. Danny's college ring from Duke was his most prized possession. Every player kept their college championship ring forever. I've been living on the streets for 2 years now, Danny said. I sleep in homeless shelters when they have room. Sometimes I sleep in parks when they don't. Danny, why didn't you call me sooner? Michael asked. Why didn't you ask for help? Danny was quiet for a long time. Outside, snow continued to fall against the windows. Pride, I guess, Danny said finally. You were the guy who beat me when it mattered most. You went on to win 6 NBA championships. You became the greatest player ever. Asking you for help felt like admitting that you were always better than me. Michael shook his head. I never thought I was better than you, Danny. That 1993 series was the hardest basketball I ever played. You pushed me to be my best. Really? Danny asked. Really, Michael said. I respected you as much as any player I ever faced. Danny's eyes filled with tears again. But this time, they seemed like happier tears. But Danny wasn't finished talking yet. He had something much bigger to tell Michael. Something that would change everything Michael thought he knew about that famous series. Mike, Danny said slowly, there's something else about 1993. Something I never told anyone. Michael leaned forward in his chair. What is it? Danny took a deep breath. His hands started shaking again. That ankle injury in Game 7, Danny said. It wasn't really an accident. Michael stared at Danny with wide eyes. The room became completely quiet except for the sound of snow hitting the windows. What do you mean it wasn't an accident? Michael asked slowly that Danny's hands were shaking as he set down his coffee cup. He had carried this secret for 30 years. Now he was finally going to tell someone the truth. Someone paid me to hurt my ankle on purpose, Danny said. Someone wanted to make sure the Chicago Bulls would win that series. Michael jumped up from his chair so fast that he knocked over his coffee. The hot liquid spilled all over the expensive carpet. That's impossible, Michael said loudly. Who would do something like that? Gambling people, Danny said quietly. People who bet millions of dollars on basketball games. They knew if I played my best in Game 7, the Knicks might win. They couldn't let that happen. Michael started walking back and forth across the room. His mind was racing with questions. If this was true, it meant his victory in 1993 wasn't fair. It meant one of his greatest wins was fake. Tell me everything, Michael said. Start from the beginning. Danny took a deep breath. It was the day before Game 7. I was at the team hotel in Chicago. 2 men in expensive suits came to my room. They said they knew all about me. Michael sat back down. He needed to hear every detail. They knew everything, Mike, Danny continued. They knew my mom was sick with cancer. They knew her medical bills were costing my family a lot of money. They knew I wanted to open a restaurant after basketball ended, but didn't have enough money to start it. Danny's mother had gotten cancer in early 1993. Michael remembered reading about it in the newspapers. The medical treatments were very expensive, and Danny's family was struggling to pay for them. What did these men want? Michael asked. They offered me $500,000, Danny said. All I had to do was make sure I couldn't play well in the fourth quarter of Game 7. They didn't want me to lose the game on purpose. They just wanted me to not be able to play my best when it mattered most. Michael felt sick to his stomach. $500,000 was a lot of money in 1993. It was more money than I made in a whole year playing basketball, Danny said. And my mom needed surgery that cost $200,000. My family was going to lose our house if we couldn't pay the medical bills. Michael understood now why Danny had been tempted. Family always came first, even before basketball. So you agreed to do it? Michael asked. Danny nodded sadly. They told me exactly how to do it. During a fast break in the fourth quarter, I was supposed to step on another player's foot wrong. It would look like a normal basketball accident to everyone watching. And that's what you did? Michael asked. Yes, Danny whispered. With 1 minute and 47 seconds left in the game, I pretended to make a quick move around you, but I stepped on Horace Grant's foot on purpose. The pain was real, though. I really did hurt my ankle badly. Michael remembered that moment perfectly. He had seen Danny fall and grab his ankle. Michael had actually felt sorry for Danny when it happened. He thought it was just bad luck. The worst part, Danny continued, was that I still tried to beat you even with a hurt ankle. I wanted that money for my family, but I also wanted to win. I'm still a competitor, Mike. Even when I was cheating, I was still trying to beat you, with what I had left. Michael almost smiled despite everything. That sounded exactly like the Danny Rodriguez he remembered. Even when Danny was fixing the game, he was still trying to win. Did anyone else know? Michael asked. No, Danny said. Not my teammates. Not my coaches. Not even my family. Just me and those two men in suits. Who were they working for? Michael asked. I don't know their real names, Danny said. But they worked for someone big. Someone who had millions of dollars riding on that series. They told me that a lot of important people had bet money on the Bulls to win. Michael thought about 1993. It was a time when gambling was becoming a big problem in professional sports. The NBA was worried about players getting involved with gamblers. Danny, why are you telling me this now? Michael asked. Why wait 30 years? Danny's eyes filled with tears again. Because I can't live with it anymore, Mike. Every time I see you on TV talking about that series, I feel terrible inside. You deserve to win because you were the better player, not because I cheated. Danny started crying harder. That money was supposed to save my life and help my family. Instead, it ruined everything. I used it to pay my mom's medical bills and start my restaurant. But the guilt ate me up inside like a poison. What do you mean? Michael asked. I started drinking too much alcohol to forget what I did, Danny said. I made bad business decisions because I couldn't think clearly. I trusted the wrong people with my restaurant because I felt like I didn't deserve success. Everything fell apart because I couldn't live with the secret of what I had done. Michael felt angry, but not at Danny. He felt angry at the people who had put Danny in that impossible situation. They had used a young man's love for his family to ruin a basketball game. Your mother, Michael said gently. Did the money help her? Yes, Danny said softly. She got the surgery she needed. The cancer treatment worked. She lived for 5 more years because of that money. She never knew where it came from, and I never told her. Michael nodded. He could understand why Danny had made that choice. Any good son would do anything to save his mother's life. But here's what I don't understand, Michael said. If you hurt your ankle on purpose, why did you keep playing? Why didn't you just sit out the rest of the game? For the first time since arriving, Danny smiled a real smile. Because I'm still Danny Rodriguez, Mike. I'm still a basketball player. Yes, I took their money to make sure I couldn't play at 100%. But with whatever I had left, I was still going to try to beat Michael Jordan. Michael felt a strange mix of emotions. He was disappointed that the game had been fixed, but he was also impressed that Danny had still tried to win even while he was cheating. So what happens now? Danny asked. Are you going to tell people what I did? Are you going to call the police? Michael thought about it carefully. If this story came out, it would be huge news. It would change how people thought about his career. Some people might wonder if other games had been fixed too, but Michael looked at Danny sitting across from him. This broken man who had lost everything. This man who had carried guilt for 30 years. This man who was now homeless and sick. I need time to think about all this, Michael said finally. This is a lot to handle. I understand, Danny said. He started to stand up. I should probably go now. Thank you for listening to me, Mike. And thank you for the food. Where are you going to go? Michael asked. There's a homeless shelter downtown. Danny said. If they have space tonight, I can sleep there. Michael shook his head firmly. No, you're not going anywhere. Not tonight. Danny looked confused. What do you mean? I mean you're staying here, Michael said. We have guest rooms. You'll sleep in a real bed tonight. And tomorrow, we're going to figure out how to help you. Mike, you don't have to help me, Danny said. I just came here to tell you the truth. I don't expect anything from you. Maybe you don't expect it, Michael said, but I'm going to help. Anyway, we may have been rivals on the basketball court, but we're both human beings. Right now, you need help, and I'm going to give it to you. But neither man knew that their biggest challenge was still coming. Danny had more secrets to reveal. Secrets that would put both their lives in danger. That night, Michael gave Danny a beautiful guest room on the second floor of his mansion. The bed was soft and warm. Clean towels hung in the bathroom. It was the first time Danny had slept in a real bed in 2 years, but Danny couldn't fall asleep. He kept staring at the ceiling, thinking about the conversation they would have in the morning. He had told Michael about the gambling, but that wasn't the only reason he had come here. There was something much bigger, something more dangerous. The next morning, Michael found Danny sitting at the kitchen table. Maria had made pancakes and eggs for breakfast, but Danny was just staring at his plate without eating. "You feeling okay?" Michael asked as he sat down. "You look like you didn't sleep much." "Mike," Danny said slowly, "I need to tell you something else. Something more important than the gambling story." Michael set down his coffee cup. "What is it now?" Danny pulled a folded piece of paper from his jacket pocket. The paper was old and wrinkled, like he had been carrying it for a long time. His hands shook as he handed it to Michael. Michael opened the paper carefully. It was a medical report from Northwestern Memorial Hospital in Chicago. The date was from last month, February 2024. Michael read the first few lines and his face went completely white. "Cancer," Michael whispered. "Stage 4 lung cancer," Danny said quietly. "The doctors say I have maybe 3 months to live. For months if I'm really lucky." Michael stared at the paper in shock. In just 2 days, he had learned that his 1993 playoff victory might have been fake, and now his former rival was dying. "Danny, this is really serious," Michael said. "Are you getting treatment? Are you seeing doctors?" Danny let out a sad laugh. "Treatment costs a lot of money, Mike. I told you yesterday, I don't have anything. I've been to the emergency room a few times when the pain gets really bad, but that's all I can afford." Michael felt angry again, not at Danny, but at the whole unfair situation. Here was a man who had once been a professional athlete, and now he couldn't even afford medical care. "Why didn't you tell me this yesterday?" Michael asked. "Because I wanted you to hear about the gambling first," Danny said. "I wanted to clear my conscience about that before I died. But there's something else, Mike. Something bigger." "What do you mean bigger?" Michael asked. Danny took a deep breath. "I don't just want to die in peace. I want to do something good before I go. Something that might make up for what I did in 1993. "Like what?" Michael asked. "I want to expose the gambling ring that paid me," Danny said. "I want to help the FBI catch the people who are still doing this to young basketball players." Michael's eyes got very wide. "The same people are still doing this." "Not the exact same people, but the same organization," Danny said. "They've been fixing games for 30 years, Mike. College games, some NBA games, even high school games now. They're still out there, still hurting young players the same way they hurt me." Danny pulled another piece of paper from his jacket. This one had names and phone numbers written all over it in Danny's handwriting. "I've been tracking them for 2 years," Danny said. "Ever since I became homeless, I've had nothing but time. I've been following the money, watching the betting patterns, talking to other players who got approached. I know how they work now." Michael looked at the paper. The names didn't mean anything to him, but he could see that Danny had done a lot of careful research. "This sounds really dangerous, Danny," Michael said. "If these people find out what you're doing, what are they going to do, kill me?" Danny asked. "I'm already dying, Mike. The cancer is going to kill me in 3 months anyway. But you're not dying. You have everything to lose. That's why I need your help." "My help?" Michael asked. "I need someone they can't touch," Danny said. "Someone with enough money and power to fight them. Someone the public will believe when the story comes out." Michael understood now why Danny had really come to him. It wasn't just about confessing the gambling incident. It wasn't just about getting help with his cancer. Danny wanted Michael to help him bring down the entire gambling operation. "Why me?" Michael asked. "Why not go to the FBI by yourself?" "I'm a homeless ex-basketball player with cancer," Danny said. "Who's going to believe me? But if Michael Jordan stands up and says this is happening, people will listen. The whole world will pay attention." Michael walked over to the kitchen window. Outside, he could see the city of Chicago in the distance. He thought about all the young basketball players out there right now, Players in high school and college who might be getting offered money to fix games. Players who might make the same terrible mistake Danny had made. What exactly are you asking me to do? Michael asked. Help me set up a meeting with the FBI, Danny said. Use your connections to make sure they take this seriously. And when the story comes out in the news, stand with me. Tell people that. You believe what I'm saying is true. Michael turned around to face Danny. If I do this, it's going to change everything for me. People will start questioning all my wins. They'll wonder how many other games were fixed during my career. I know, Danny said sadly, and I'm sorry for that. But think about how many young players we could save from making the same mistake I did. Michael thought about his own sons, Marcus and Jeffrey, who were starting to get interested in basketball. He thought about all the kids who looked up to him as a hero. Did he want them playing in a sport where games could be bought and sold? There's something else, Danny said very quietly. Michael felt tired. What now? The people who paid me in 1993, Danny said. I found out who was really behind it all. Michael felt his heart start beating faster. Who was it? Danny hesitated. This was the biggest secret of all, the one that would shock Michael the most. It was someone you knew, Danny said. Someone who was close to professional basketball. Someone who had access to inside information about the teams and players. Just tell me who it was, Michael said. Danny looked Michael straight in the eyes. It was Charles Oakley. Michael felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. Charles Oakley was one of his former teammates on the Chicago Bulls. They had played together for several years. Oakley was someone Michael had trusted like a brother. That's impossible, Michael said. Oak would never do something like that. He was my teammate. He was my friend. He didn't do it for money, Danny said. Quickly, he did it because he owed the gambling people a favor. They had helped him with some kind of problem he had in New York. In return, he had to give them inside information about team injuries and game plans. Michael sat down hard in a chair. Charles Oakley had been like a big brother to him when Michael was young in the NBA. The idea that Oakley was involved in fixing games made Michael feel sick and betrayed. Do you have proof of this? Michael asked. I have phone records, Danny said. I have bank statements. I have photographs. I have everything. Danny pulled out a thick envelope from inside his jacket. Inside were copies of documents, old photographs, and financial records. I've spent 2 years putting this together, Danny said. I wanted to make sure I had solid evidence before I came to you. Michael looked through some of the papers. There were phone calls between Oakley and known gamblers. There were bank deposits that matched the money Danny had been paid. There were even photos of Oakley meeting with suspicious-looking people in dark restaurants. This could destroy his life, Michael said. He helped destroy mine, Danny said, firmly, and he's still helping them destroy other players. This has to stop, Mike. Michael felt torn between two feelings. On one side, he wanted to protect his former teammate and friend. On the other side, he knew Danny was right. If this was still happening to young players, it had to be stopped. I need time to think about all this, Michael said. I don't have much time left, Danny reminded him. 3 months, remember? Maybe 4 if I'm lucky. Michael looked at Danny sitting across from him. This man who had once been his greatest rival was now asking him to risk everything to do what was right. Okay, Michael said finally. I'll help you, but we have to do this the right way. We need to gather more evidence. We need to make sure we have everything perfect. And we need to get you proper medical treatment for your cancer. Danny's eyes filled with tears of relief. Thank you, Mike. You don't know how much this means to me. We're going to do this together, Michael said, like teammates. But neither of them knew that someone had been listening to their entire conversation. And that person was about to make a phone call that would put both of their lives in serious danger. Marcus Williams had been worried about his boss all morning. In 8 years of working for Michael Jordan, he had never seen him look so upset. When Marcus went to bring some mail to the house, he heard voices coming from the kitchen. Marcus didn't mean to listen in on private conversations. But when he heard the word gambling, he stopped walking. Then he heard Charles Oakley and FBI. His feet wouldn't move. Marcus pressed his ear closer to the kitchen door. He heard everything. The cancer, the fixed game from 1993, the plan to expose the gambling ring, Danny's evidence against Charles Oakley. Marcus had a terrible secret of his own, one that Danny and Michael didn't know about. Marcus owed $75,000 to some very dangerous people. He had gotten into trouble betting on football games. When he couldn't pay his debts, the dangerous people had made him a deal. They would give him More time to pay if he did favors for them. Those same people had asked Marcus to spy on Michael Jordan before. They wanted to know about Michael's business meetings and travel plans. They thought this information might help them with their betting. Marcus had always said no because he liked working for Michael and didn't want to betray him. But now, listening to this conversation, Marcus realized he had information that could be worth a lot of money. Information that might save his own life. Marcus quietly walked away from the kitchen door. He went back to his security booth and pulled out his cell phone. He called a number he had saved but hoped he would never have to use. "It's Marcus Williams," he said when someone answered. "I have something big. Something about Michael Jordan and Danny Rodriguez." "We're listening," said a rough voice on the phone. "They're planning to go to the FBI," Marcus said quickly. "Danny Rodriguez has evidence about fixed games. He's going to expose the whole operation." There was silence on the phone for a long moment. "What kind of evidence?" the voice asked. "Documents, phone records, bank statements, photos of Charles Oakley meeting with your people," Marcus said. More silence. "When are they going to the FBI?" the voice asked. "I think tomorrow or the next day," Marcus said. "Jordan is making phone calls to set up meetings." "Good work," the voice said. "There's an extra $10,000 in this for you. But you need to keep watching them. Call us if they leave the house or if anyone else comes to visit." The phone line went dead. Marcus put his phone away and tried to feel good about what he had just done, but his hands were shaking. Meanwhile, inside the kitchen, Michael was making important phone calls. He called his personal lawyer first. Then he called his business manager. Finally, he called a friend who used to work for the FBI. "I can get you a meeting with the right people," his FBI friend said. "But Michael, this is serious stuff. If you're wrong about any of this, it could hurt your reputation badly." "I understand the risks," Michael said. "But if we're right, we could help a lot of people." Michael also called the best cancer doctor in Chicago. He made an appointment for Danny that afternoon. He was going to make sure Danny got proper medical treatment, no matter what it cost. "I can't believe you're doing all this for me," Danny said when Michael finished making calls. "I told you yesterday," Michael said. "This is bigger than basketball. This is about doing what's right." But Michael was also thinking about Charles Oakley. Even though Danny had evidence against him, Michael felt like he owed his former teammate a chance to explain. They had been through too much together to not give Oakley that chance. "I need to make one more call," Michael told Danny. "I'm going to call Oakley. I want to hear what he has to say about all this." Danny looked worried. "Mike, if you warn him, he might destroy evidence. He might run away." "He's not going to run," Michael said. "And if he's really innocent, he deserves to know what's happening." Michael found Charles Oakley's phone number and called him. The phone rang 4 times before Oakley answered. "Mike," Oakley said, sounding happy and surprised. "Man, it's good to hear from you. What's going on?" "Oak, I need to ask you something important," Michael said. "And I need you to tell me the complete truth." "Of course," Oakley said. "What is it? Do you remember Danny Rodriguez?" Michael asked. There was a pause on the phone. Not a long pause, but long enough for Michael to notice. "The guy who played for the Knicks?" Oakley asked. "Yeah, I remember him. Good player. Why are you asking about him?" "He's here with me right now," Michael said. "He's telling me some very serious things about the 1993 playoffs." The pause this time was much longer. "Mike, whatever that guy is telling you, you can't believe him," Oakley said quickly. His voice sounded different now, more nervous. "Danny Rodriguez has had problems for years. Mental problems, drug problems. You can't trust anything he says. He has documents," Oak, Michael said. "Financial records, phone records, photos." The phone went completely quiet for almost a minute. Michael could hear Oakley breathing heavily. "Mike," Oakley said finally, "I need to see you, face to face. This is too important to talk about on the phone." "I'm not going anywhere," Michael said. "If you want to talk, you come here to Chicago." "I can't do that," Oakley said quickly. "It's not safe for me to travel right now." "Not safe?" Michael asked. "What does that mean?" "It means there are people looking for me," Oakley said. "People who don't want me talking to anyone about anything from the old days." Michael felt a chill run down his spine. "Oak, what did you get yourself into?" "I can't talk about this on the phone," Oakley said. "Meet me halfway. Meet me in Detroit. I'll explain everything there." Michael looked at Danny, who was listening carefully to the conversation. "Detroit is too far," Michael said. "Danny is sick with cancer. He can't travel that far." "Then leave him there," Oakley said. "This is between you and me, Mike. It always has been." "No," Michael said firmly. "Danny is part of this now. Whatever you have to say, you can say it in front of him." Oakley was quiet for a very long time. Michael could hear traffic noise in the background, like Oakley was calling from a car or a street corner. "Mike, you don't understand how big this thing really is," Oakley said finally. "If you keep pushing forward with this, people are going to get hurt. People you care about." "Is that a threat?" Michael asked. "It's a warning," Oakley said. "From someone who cares about you and wants to keep you safe." "Safe from who?" Michael asked, but the phone line went dead. Oakley had hung up. Michael stared at his phone. His former teammate had just threatened him, or warned him. Michael wasn't sure which one it was. "What did he say?" Danny asked. "He wants to meet with me," Michael said. "But not here, and not with you there." "I told you he was guilty," Danny said. "An innocent person would come here and explain everything. A guilty person runs away and makes threats." Michael nodded slowly. He was starting to believe that Danny was telling the truth about everything. But they didn't know that across town, Marcus the security guard was sitting in a parking lot, meeting with two men in a black car. He was telling them everything he had heard, and he was accepting an envelope full of money in return. The two men listened carefully to Marcus's report. When he finished talking, one of them made a phone call. "We have a problem," the man said into his phone. "Michael Jordan knows everything, and he's planning to go to the FBI tomorrow." The voice on the other end of the phone was calm and cold. "Handle it," the voice said. "Do whatever you have to do, but make sure they don't make it to that FBI meeting." "What about Jordan?" the man asked. "He's not just some regular person. He's Michael Jordan. If something happens to him, people will ask a lot of questions. Then make sure it looks like an accident," the voice said. "And make sure the Rodriguez guy doesn't survive to tell his story to anyone." The phone line went dead. The two men looked at each other. They had just been given orders to kill Michael Jordan and Danny Rodriguez. It was the biggest and most dangerous job they had ever been asked to do. One of the men pulled out his phone and made another call. "We're going to need more people for this job," he said, "and we're going to need them tonight." Back at the mansion, Michael and Danny had no idea that their lives were now in serious danger. They were planning their trip to see the FBI. They thought the biggest risk was what might happen to their reputations. They had no idea that some very dangerous people were making plans to make sure they never lived to tell their story. But Michael Jordan had not become the greatest basketball player in the world by giving up when things got difficult. And he was about to discover that his competitive spirit worked just as well off the basketball court as it did on it. Michael and Danny left the mansion at 2:30 p.m. in Michael's black Mercedes. They were driving to Northwestern Memorial Hospital for Danny's appointment with the cancer doctor. The appointment was at 3:30 p.m., which gave them plenty of time to get there. Michael had decided to drive himself instead of using his regular driver. He wanted privacy so they could talk about their plan to meet with the FBI. But that decision might have saved their lives that a professional driver would have taken the main highways into downtown Chicago. Michael chose to take back roads that he knew from growing up in the city. That made it much harder for anyone following them to guess where they were going. "You see that blue car?" Michael asked Danny as they drove through a quiet neighborhood. Danny looked in the side mirror. "The one that's been behind us since we left your house." "That's the one," Michael said. "I think we're being followed." Danny felt his heart start beating faster. "What should we do?" Michael smiled. It was the same competitive smile he used to get before important basketball games. "We're going to find out how serious they are," Michael said. Michael suddenly turned right onto a street that led back toward his mansion. If the blue car was just going in the same direction by accident, it would keep going straight. If they were really being followed, the car would turn too. The blue car turned right. "Okay," Michael said calmly. "Now we know for sure." Danny was getting scared. "Maybe we should call the police." "And tell them what?" Michael asked. "That a car is driving on the same roads we are. We need proof that they're actually following us." Michael made 3 more quick turns. Left, then right, then left again. Each time, the blue car followed them perfectly. "I'm going to try something," Michael said. "Hold on tight." Michael suddenly pressed hard on the gas pedal. The Mercedes shot forward like a rocket. In just a few seconds, they were going 65 miles per hour on a street where cars usually went 25 behind them. The blue car sped up too, but it couldn't keep up with Michael's powerful car. Within 2 minutes, Michael had left them far behind. "Where did you learn to drive like that?" Danny asked, holding onto his seat belt tightly. "When you're famous, people sometimes follow you," Michael said. "Not usually for dangerous reasons, but you learn to be careful. I took some defensive driving classes years ago." They drove quietly for a few minutes. Michael kept checking his mirrors, but the blue car was nowhere to be seen. "I think we lost them," Michael said, but just as he said those words, a black SUV pulled out of a side street right in front of them. Michael had to slam on his brakes to avoid crashing into it. The SUV stopped in the middle of the road, completely blocking their path. "Back up," Danny yelled. Michael put the car in reverse. But when he looked behind them, another car had pulled up. They were trapped between two vehicles with no way to escape. Two men got out of the SUV. They were both wearing dark suits and sunglasses, even though it was cloudy outside. One of them was holding something under his jacket that looked like it might be a gun. "Mr. Jordan," one of the men called out as he walked toward their car. "We need to have a conversation with you." Michael rolled down his window just a little bit. "Who are you?" "We're friends of Charles Oakley," the man said. "He sent us to bring you to him for that meeting." "I already told Oakley I'm not going to New York," Michael said. "You misunderstood," the man said with a cold smile. "This isn't a request. It's a requirement." The man started walking closer to Michael's car. As he got nearer, Danny could clearly see that he definitely had a gun hidden under his jacket. "Mike," Danny whispered, "we need to get out of here right now." Michael looked around quickly. They were on a narrow street with houses on both sides. There was a very small gap between the SUV and a parked car on the right side of the road. The gap was barely wide enough for the Mercedes, but it might work if Michael was careful. "When I say the word go, duck down as low as you can," Michael told Danny quietly. "What are you planning to do?" Danny asked. "Something that might be really stupid," Michael said, "but it's our only chance. Go." Michael floored the gas pedal and aimed straight for the small gap. The Mercedes shot forward like a bullet. The man with the gun had to jump out of the way to avoid being hit. The right side mirror of Michael's car scraped against the SUV with a loud crash and broke off completely. But they made it through the gap. "Yes," Danny yelled as they sped away, but their celebration didn't last long. In the rearview mirror, Michael could see both cars starting to chase them again. Michael's phone, which was connected to his car's speaker system, suddenly rang. The caller ID said unknown number. "Michael Jordan," he answered. "Very impressive driving," said a voice Michael didn't recognize. "But you're only making this harder on yourself." "Who is this?" Michael demanded. "Someone who wants to have a friendly conversation with you and Mr. Rodriguez," the voice said. "Pull over now, and nobody gets hurt." "I don't think so," Michael said as he turned sharply onto another street. "Mr. Jordan, we know where you live. We know where your children go to school. We know where your ex-wife works. Do you really want to play games with us?" Michael felt a cold fear in his stomach. These people were threatening his family. "What do you want?" Michael asked. "We want you to forget everything Mr. Rodriguez told you," the voice said. "We want you to take him back to whatever homeless shelter he came from. And we want you to never speak to the FBI or anyone else about gambling and basketball." "And if I don't agree?" Michael asked. "Then you'll find out what happened to the last person who tried to expose our operation," the voice said. The phone line went dead. Michael looked at Danny, who had heard every word. "They're not just trying to scare us," Danny said. "They're really planning to hurt us." "Maybe," Michael said, "but I've been in tough situations before. In basketball, when the other team puts pressure on you, you don't give up. You play harder." Michael made another sharp turn. He was heading toward downtown Chicago now, where there would be more traffic and more people around. "Where are we going?" Danny asked. "To the hospital for your appointment," Michael said. These guys think they can scare Michael Jordan. They're about to learn they picked the wrong person to mess with. Behind them, the two cars were still following. But Michael had an idea. He knew these Chicago streets better than anyone chasing him. He had grown up here. He knew shortcuts and back alleys that most people didn't know about. "Danny, call 911, Michael said. "Tell them we're being chased by people with guns." Danny pulled out Michael's phone and dialed. 911, what's your emergency? "This is Danny Rodriguez. I'm in a car with Michael Jordan. We're being chased by men with guns on the south side of Chicago." "Did you say Michael Jordan?" the 911 operator asked. "Yes. We're in a black Mercedes, license plate MJ23. We're being chased by a blue sedan and a black SUV. Police cars are on the way, the operator said. Stay on the line. Michael could hear sirens in the distance. The police were coming to help them, but the men chasing them could hear the sirens too. And they were getting desperate. The black SUV suddenly sped up and rammed into the back of Michael's car. The Mercedes lurched forward, and Danny hit his head on the dashboard. Are you okay? Michael asked. I'm fine, Danny said, wiping blood from his forehead. Just keep driving. Michael saw a police car coming toward them from the opposite direction. He flashed his headlights and honked his horn to get the officer's attention. The police car made a quick U-turn and started chasing the men who were chasing Michael and Danny. Within minutes, 3 more police cars had joined the chase. The blue sedan and black SUV realized they were outnumbered. They turned down a side street and disappeared. Michael pulled over and stopped the car. His hands were shaking from adrenaline. Are you sure you're okay? He asked Danny. I'm okay, Danny said. But Mike, this proves everything I told you is true. These people are really dangerous. A police officer walked up to Michael's car. Mr. Jordan? I'm Officer Martinez. Are you and your friend hurt? We're fine, Michael said. But the men who were chasing us had guns. They threatened my family. We're going to need you to come to the police station to file a report, Officer Martinez said. And we're going to put protection on your house until we figure out who these people are. As they followed the police car to the station, Michael realized that everything had changed. This wasn't just about exposing corruption in basketball anymore. This was about staying alive long enough to tell the truth. But Michael Jordan had never backed down from a challenge in his life. And he wasn't going to start now. Danny, he said as they drove, we're still going to the FBI tomorrow. But first, we're going to make sure these guys can never threaten anyone again. Danny smiled despite everything that had just happened. I knew there was a reason you were the greatest competitor who ever lived. The real fight was just beginning at the Chicago police station. Detective Sarah Chun listened carefully as Michael and Danny told their story. She had been a police officer for 15 years, but she had never heard anything quite like this. Let me make sure I understand, Detective Chun said. You're telling me that professional basketball games have been fixed for 30 years, and now people are trying to kill you to keep it secret? I know it sounds crazy, Michael said, but Danny has proof. Documents, photos, everything. Danny opened his envelope and spread the papers across Detective Chen's desk. She looked through them carefully, examining each document. These phone records show calls between Charles Oakley and known gamblers, she said. And these bank records show large money transfers on the same dates as playoff games. That's just the beginning, Danny said. I have evidence going back to 1993 and continuing until last year. This isn't just about one fixed game. It's about a whole criminal organization. Detective Chin picked up her phone. I'm calling the FBI. This is too big for just the Chicago police to handle. While Detective Chun made her calls, Michael and Danny sat in the waiting area. Danny was holding an ice pack on his head where he had hit the dashboard during the car. Chase. Mike, Danny said quietly, maybe we should stop. These people already tried to hurt us once. What if they go after your family next time? Michael thought about his children. Marcus was in college at the University of Central Florida. Jeffrey was finishing high school. The idea of them being in danger made Michael feel sick. But then Michael thought about all the young basketball players who might be getting threatened by these same criminals right now. Players who might make the same mistake Danny had made 30 years ago. No, Michael said firmly. We can't stop. Now, if we give up, these people win. And they'll keep hurting other players. Detective Chun came back with good news. The FBI is sending 2 agents over right now. Agent Johnson and Agent Martinez specialize in sports gambling cases. They want to hear everything you have to say. 30 minutes later, the 2 FBI agents arrived. Agent Johnson was a tall woman with short gray hair. Agent Martinez was a younger man who looked like he might have played sports himself. Mr. Jordan, Mr. Rodriguez, Agent Johnson said as she sat down. We've been investigating sports gambling for several years. What you're describing fits with some cases we've been working on. You mean this is really happening? Michael asked. Unfortunately, yes, Agent Martinez said. We know there are organized crime groups that fix games in college basketball, minor league baseball, and even some professional sports. But we've never had someone come forward with evidence about NBA games. Danny pushed the envelope of documents toward the agents. Everything is in there. Names, dates, phone calls, money transfers. 30 years of evidence. Agent Johnson looked through the papers quickly. Her eyes got wider as she read. "This is incredible," she said. "If this evidence is real, we could shut down one of the biggest sports gambling operations in the country." "The evidence is real," Danny said. "I've been collecting it for 2 years. I know where the bodies are buried, so to speak." "There's something else," Michael said. "Today, people try to kidnap us. They threatened my family. They said they would hurt us if we didn't keep quiet." Agent Martinez leaned forward. "Did you recognize any of the men who chased you?" "No," Michael said. "But they said they were working for Charles Oakley. We'll need to bring Oakley in for questioning." Agent Johnson said. "But first, we need to make sure you're both safe." "What do you mean?" Danny asked. "I mean, these people have already tried to hurt you once," Agent Johnson said. "They'll probably try again. We need to put you somewhere safe until we can arrest the main players in this organization." Michael shook his head. "I'm not hiding. These people think they can scare me, but I've never backed down from a fight in my life." "Mr. Jordan, this isn't basketball," Agent Martinez said. "These are dangerous criminals with guns. They've killed people before to protect their operation. Then let's catch them before they can hurt anyone else," Michael said. Agent Johnson and Agent Martinez looked at each other. They seemed to be having a silent conversation. "There might be a way," Agent Johnson said slowly. "But it would be very dangerous, and we'd need your help." "What kind of help?" Michael asked. "We want to set up a trap," Agent Martinez explained. "We want you to agree to meet with these people, but we'll have FBI agents watching everything. When they try to hurt you, we'll arrest them." Danny looked worried. "That sounds really dangerous, Mike." "It is dangerous," Agent Johnson admitted. "But it might be our only chance to catch the people at the top of this organization. If we just arrest the men who chased you today, the big bosses will just send different people next time." Michael thought about it carefully. In basketball, sometimes you had to take big risks to win important games. This felt like the same kind of situation. "How would it work?" Michael asked. "We'll have you call Charles Oakley," Agent Martinez said. "Tell him you want to make a deal. Tell him you'll keep quiet about everything if he pays you enough money." "You want me to pretend I'm corrupt too?" Michael asked. "Exactly," Agent Johnson said. "These people understand greed. They'll believe you if you act like you just want money." Danny shook his head. "This is too dangerous. What if something goes wrong?" "We'll have 20 FBI agents watching," Agent Martinez said. "You'll be wearing hidden microphones and cameras. We'll know everything that's happening." Michael stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the city of Chicago. Somewhere out there, young basketball players were being offered money to fix games. Players who might ruin their lives the same way Danny had ruined his. "I'll do it," Michael said. "Mike, no," Danny said. "You have too much to lose." "That's exactly why I have to do it," Michael said. "I have money, fame, and influence. Most people don't. I can fight these criminals in a way that other people can't." Agent Johnson smiled. "We were hoping you'd say that. But there's one more thing. We want Danny to be part of the trap too." "What do you mean?" Danny asked. "We want you to pretend you're having second thoughts about exposing the gambling ring," Agent Martinez explained. "We want you to call Oakley and tell him you're willing to stay quiet if they pay you." "But I'm dying of cancer," Danny said. "What would I need money for?" "Medical treatment," Agent Johnson said. "Tell them you want enough money to pay for cancer treatment. Tell them you want to live long enough to enjoy being rich." Danny thought about it. He had spent 2 years planning to expose these criminals. Now the FBI was asking him to pretend he wanted to join them instead. "If this works," Danny said, "will you really be able to stop them?" "If this works," Agent Johnson said, "we'll arrest everyone involved. Charles Oakley, the men who chased you today, and the bosses who give the orders. We'll shut down their entire operation." Danny looked at Michael. "What do you think?" "I think we have to try," Michael said. "This might be our only chance to stop them." "Okay," Danny said finally. "I'll do it. But if I'm going to die anyway, I want to make sure these criminals go to prison first." Agent Martinez pulled out his phone. "We'll need a few hours to set everything up. We'll have to get you the right equipment and brief our agents on the plan." "How long will this take?" Michael asked. "We can have everything ready by tomorrow afternoon," Agent Johnson said. "You'll call Oakley tomorrow morning and set up a meeting for the evening." "Where will the meeting be?" Danny asked. "Somewhere public, but not too crowded," Agent Martinez said. "Maybe a restaurant or a hotel lobby." somewhere our agents can blend in but still protect you. As they left the police station, Michael felt nervous but determined. In a few hours, he would be face to face with the people who had tried to kill him. But this time, he would have the FBI on his side. "Danny," Michael said as they got into a police car that would take them to a safe hotel, "are you sure you want to do this? You don't have to. You've already given the FBI everything they need." "I've been carrying this guilt for 30 years, Danny said. "If I can help catch these people before I die, maybe I can finally make up for what I did in 1993. Michael nodded. Tomorrow would be the most important game of their lives. And unlike basketball, if they lost this game, they might not live to play another one. But Michael Jordan had built his career on winning games when everything was on the line. And he wasn't planning to start losing now. The next morning, Michael and Danny woke up in a safe house that the FBI had set up for them. It was a small apartment on the north side of Chicago. FBI agents were watching the building from cars parked across the street. Agent Johnson arrived at 9 a.m. with coffee and breakfast sandwiches. She also brought the equipment they would need for their dangerous plan. "These are special microphones," she explained, showing them tiny devices that look like shirt buttons. "They'll record everything that's said during your meeting. And these are mini cameras that will go in your jacket pockets." Danny picked up one of the microphones. It was so small he could barely see it. "Will Charles Oakley be able to tell we're wearing these?" "Not unless he knows exactly what to look for," Agent Johnson said. "But we'll also have 20 agents in the restaurant where you're meeting. Some will be dressed as customers, some as waiters. If anything goes wrong, help will be there in seconds." Michael was practicing what he would say to Oakley on the phone. The FBI had written a script for him, but he wanted it to sound natural. "Remember," Agent Martinez said, "you need to sound greedy but scared. Make Oakley think you're only doing this for money. Don't sound too brave, or he'll get suspicious." At 10 a.m., it was time to make the call. Michael dialed Charles Oakley's number while the FBI agents listened on speakerphone. "Oak, it's Michael," he said when Oakley answered. "Mike, thank God you called," Oakley said. He sounded relieved. "Are you okay? I heard there was some kind of trouble yesterday." "That's what I'm calling about," Michael said, following the script. "Oak, I need to talk to you. Face to face. I told you yesterday, I can't come to Chicago," Oakley said. "I'm not asking you to come here," Michael said. "I'll meet you halfway, but I need to bring Danny with me. He's part of this now." There was a long pause on the phone. "What changed your mind?" Oakley asked carefully. "Yesterday changed my mind," Michael said. "When those men started chasing us, when they threatened my family, I realized how serious this is. I don't want to fight you, Oak. I just want this whole thing to go away." "What are you saying?" Oakley asked. "I'm saying maybe we can work something out," Michael said. "Maybe there's a way for everyone to be happy. Danny needs money for medical treatment. I need to know my family is safe. You need this story to stay buried." The FBI agents nodded. Michael was doing a good job of sounding like someone who just wanted money. "You want to make a deal?" Oakley asked. "I want to have a conversation," Michael said, "about how much it would cost to make this problem disappear." Another long pause. "Okay," Oakley said finally. "There's a restaurant called Tony's Place in Milwaukee. It's halfway between Chicago and where I am. Can you be there tonight at 8 p.m.? "We'll be there," Michael said. "Mike," Oakley said, "don't bring anyone else. Don't call the police. If I think this is a trap, people will get hurt." "I understand," Michael said. "Just me and Danny." After Michael hung up, Agent Johnson smiled. "Perfect." He took the bait. "Now what happens?" Danny asked. "Now we get ready," Agent Martinez said. "We need to get our people to Milwaukee and set up surveillance at Tony's Place." The rest of the day was spent preparing for the meeting. The FBI showed Michael and Danny photos of all the people they might see at the restaurant. Some were criminals who worked with the gambling operation. Others were FBI agents who would be protecting them. "Remember these faces," Agent Johnson said. "If you see any of these criminals, try to get them talking. We want them to confess on tape to fixing games." Danny was getting more nervous as the day went on. "What if they figure out we're working with the FBI? What if they search us and find the microphones?" "They won't search you in a public restaurant," Agent Martinez said. "And remember, Charles Oakley used to be Michael's teammate. He trusts Michael. That's our advantage." At 5 p.m., they left for Milwaukee. Michael and Danny rode in one car with 2 FBI agents. 20 other agents followed in different cars, staying far enough behind that they wouldn't be noticed. "How do you feel?" Michael asked Danny as they drove. "Scared," Danny admitted, "but also excited. For 30 years, I've wanted to make these people pay for what they did to me. Tonight might be my only chance." "You're brave to do this," Michael said, "especially with your cancer. You could be spending your last few months resting, but instead you're fighting criminals." "My mom always told me to stand up to bullies," Danny said. "I guess I'm finally listening to her advice." They arrived in Milwaukee at 7:30 p.m. Tony's place was a small Italian restaurant in a quiet part of the city. It looked normal from the outside, but Michael and Danny knew that FBI agents were already inside, pretending to be customers. "Are you ready?" Agent Johnson asked through their earpieces. "Ready," Michael said quietly. "Remember, try to get them to talk about other fixed games," Agent Martinez's voice said in their ears. "We want to catch as many criminals as possible." Michael and Danny walked into the restaurant at exactly 8 p.m. Charles Oakley was sitting at a table in the back corner. He wasn't alone. 2 other men were with him, men that Michael didn't recognize. "Mike, Danny," Oakley said as they approached the table. "Thanks for coming." Michael noticed that Oakley looked nervous. His hands were shaking slightly, and he kept looking around the restaurant. "Oak, who are your friends?" Michael asked as they sat down. "This is Vincent and Tony," Oakley said. "They're the people you need to make a deal with." Vincent was a large man with gray hair and expensive clothes. Tony was younger and thinner, but his eyes looked cold and dangerous. "So you want to make this problem go away?" Vincent asked without saying hello. "That's right," Michael said. "Danny needs money for cancer treatment. I need to know my family is safe. What's it going to cost?" Vincent smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. "It's going to cost more than money, Mr. Jordan." "What do you mean?" Danny asked. "I mean, we need guarantees," Tony said. "We need to know you'll never talk about this again to anyone." "How much money are we talking about?" Michael asked, trying to keep the conversation focused on getting evidence. "For Danny's medical bills, maybe $2 million, Vincent said. "For your silence, maybe $5 million. But money isn't the only thing we need." "What else do you need?" Michael asked. Vincent leaned forward. "We need you to do us a favor, Mr. Jordan." "What kind of favor?" Michael asked, though he was afraid of the answer. "We want you to talk to some young players for us," Vincent said. "College players who are going to be in important games. We want you to convince them to help us out." Michael felt sick. They wanted him to recruit young players to fix games. "You want me to corrupt college kids?" Michael asked. "We want you to help them make some extra money," Tony said. "Nothing wrong with that." Danny spoke up. "How many players are you already working with?" Vincent looked proud. "We have people in 15 different colleges. We've been doing this for years. March Madness is very profitable for us." The FBI agents listening through the microphones were probably getting excited. This was exactly the kind of confession they needed. "What about professional players?" Danny asked. "Are you still fixing NBA games?" "Not as much as we used to," Tony said. "NBA players make too much money now. It's harder to buy them. But we still have a few people who help us out." "Like who?" Michael asked. Vincent looked around the restaurant carefully. Then he leaned in, close to Michael and Danny. "Let me tell you about our operation," he said quietly. "And then you'll understand why we need your help." For the next 30 minutes, Vincent and Tony told Michael and Danny about their entire criminal organization. They talked about fixed college games, bribed referees, and corrupted players. They mentioned names, dates, and amounts of money. Everything was being recorded by the FBI microphones. But then Vincent said something that shocked everyone. "You know, we've been watching you for a long time, Mr. Jordan," Vincent said. "We know about your gambling problems. We know about the debts you had in the 1990s. Michael felt his heart stop. What was Vincent talking about? "We helped you out back then," Tony said. "And now it's time for you to help us." "I don't know what you're talking about," Michael said. Vincent smiled coldly. "Oh, but you do. How do you think you were able to pay off those gambling debts in 1993? How do you think your father's murder was really solved so quickly?" Michael felt like someone had hit him in the chest. Vincent was claiming that the gambling organization had helped Michael in the past, and they were suggesting they had something to do with his father's death. "You're lying," Michael said. "Am I?" Vincent asked. "Or have you just been lying to yourself for 30 years? The room started spinning around Michael. Was it possible That he had been connected to this criminal organization longer than he thought? Had they really helped him with gambling debts? And what did they know about his father's murder? But before Michael could ask any more questions, Tony suddenly stood up. "This meeting is over," Tony said. "We'll be in touch with our decision." As the criminals left the restaurant, Michael sat frozen in his chair. The FBI had gotten everything. They needed to make arrests. But Michael had learned something that might destroy his entire legacy, and Danny was about to reveal the biggest secret of all. Back in the FBI safe house that night, Michael sat on the couch staring at the wall. He hadn't spoken since leaving the restaurant. Agent Johnson and Agent Martinez were excited about all the evidence they had recorded, but Michael looked like he was in shock. "Mike," Danny said gently, "are you okay?" Michael looked up with confused eyes. "Danny, what if they were telling the truth? What if I really did take money from these people back in 1993? "You don't remember taking any money?" Danny asked. "I remember having gambling debts," Michael said slowly. "I remember owing a lot of money to some casino people in Atlantic City. And I remember that somehow, the debts just disappeared. I always thought my agent worked something out." Agent Johnson was listening carefully. "Mr. Jordan, if you had connections to this gambling organization, we need to know about it. It doesn't change anything about tonight, but it could help our investigation." "I honestly don't remember," Michael said. "Maybe I didn't want to know where the help came from." Danny walked over and sat next to Michael on the couch. "Mike, there's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you from the beginning." Michael looked at his former rival. "What now, Danny? I don't think I can handle any more secrets." "This one is different," Danny said. "This one might actually make you feel better." Danny took a deep breath. "Mike, I didn't come to your house just to confess about the fixed game. And I didn't come just to expose the gambling ring." "Then why did you come?" Michael asked. "I came to tell you the truth about your father's death," Danny said quietly. The room became completely silent. Michael's father, James Jordan, had been murdered in 1993, just a few months after the playoffs where Danny had hurt his ankle. It was one of the most painful times in Michael's life. "What do you know about my father?" Michael asked, his voice barely a whisper. "More than I should," Danny said, "and more than I ever wanted to." Agent Johnson and Agent Martinez moved closer. This was completely new information. "Tell me everything," Michael said. Danny stood up and walked to the window. "After I took the money to fix that game, I thought it was over. I thought I would just keep the secret forever and move on with my life. But they didn't let me go." "What do you mean?" Michael asked. "They kept calling me," Danny said. "They wanted me to fix more games. They wanted me to recruit other players. They said if I didn't help them, they would tell everyone what I had done in the playoffs." Michael felt his heart start beating faster. "So you kept working with them?" "For a while," Danny said sadly. "They made me approach other players on different teams. I hated it, but I was scared of what would happen if I said no." "What does this have to do with my father?" Michael asked. Danny turned around to face Michael. "In July 1993, they gave me a special assignment. They wanted me to approach you directly." Michael stood up from the couch. "They wanted you to get me to fix games." "Yes," Danny said. "They said if I could get Michael Jordan to work with them, they would let me go. They would never bother me again." "But you never approached me," Michael said. "Because I couldn't do it," Danny said. "You were the best player in the world. You had everything. I couldn't destroy your life the way they had destroyed mine." Agent Martinez was taking notes. "So what happened when you refused?" "They got angry," Danny said. "Really angry. They said if I wouldn't help them get to Michael Jordan, they would find another way." Michael felt a cold chill run down his spine. "Another way to get to me?" "They said they would find someone close to you," Danny said. "Someone they could use to pressure you." Michael's hands started shaking. "My father. Your father liked to gamble, Mike," Danny said gently. "He went to casinos. He played poker games. They found out about that." Michael knew this was true. His father had enjoyed gambling, but it had never seemed like a serious problem. "They approached your father at a casino in North Carolina," Danny continued. "They offered him a lot of money to help them. All he had to do was convince you to miss some free throws in important games. Just small things that wouldn't be obvious." "My father would never do that," Michael said firmly. "You're right," Danny said. "He told them no. He said he would never ask you to do anything dishonest." Agent Johnson leaned forward. "So what happened next?" Danny's eyes filled with tears. "They killed him, Mike. They murdered your father because he wouldn't help them corrupt you." Michael felt like the room was spinning. His father had been killed by the same criminals who had paid Danny to fix games. His father had died protecting Michael's integrity. How do you know this? Agent Martinez asked. Because they told me, Danny said. They called me after it happened. They said this is what happens to people who don't cooperate with them. They said if I ever tried to expose them, they would kill more people I cared about. Michael sat back down heavily. So for 30 years, you've known that these people killed my father? Yes, Danny whispered. And I've hated myself every day for not stopping them somehow. Why didn't you go to the police back then? Agent Johnson asked. With what proof? Danny said. I was already guilty of fixing a basketball game. Who would believe me? And besides, they threatened to kill my mother if I talked. Michael looked up at Danny. Is that the real reason you came to me now? Because you're dying and you want to finally get justice for my father. Partly, Danny said, but also because I found out they're planning to kill more people. They're getting desperate because sports betting is becoming legal in more states. They're losing control of their operation. Who else are they planning to kill? Agent Martinez asked. Young players who refuse to work with them, Danny said. College kids who say no to fixing games. They used to just threaten these kids, but now they're actually hurting them. Danny pulled out another piece of paper from his jacket. 3 college players have been killed in the last 2 years. The police think they were random crimes, but they weren't. These kids all said no to fixing games. Agent Johnson looked at the paper. It had names, dates, and newspaper clippings about 3 different deaths. This is enough evidence to shut them down forever, she said. But Danny, why didn't you come forward sooner? Because I was a coward, Danny said simply. I was afraid to die, but now that I'm dying anyway, I figured I might as well do something brave for once in my life. Michael stood up and walked over to Danny. For a moment, it looked like he might hit him, but instead, Michael hugged his former rival. Thank you, Michael said. Thank you for finally telling me the truth about my father. I'm sorry it took so long, Danny said, crying now. I'm sorry. I let you think it was just a random crime for 30 years. You were scared, Michael said. I understand that. But now we can get justice for him. Agent Martinez was already on his phone. We need to make arrests tonight. If these people think Michael and Danny are working with us, they might try to kill them before we can stop them. How many people are we arresting? Agent Johnson asked. Everyone, Agent Martinez said. Vincent, Tony, Charles Oakley, and anyone else connected to this organization. We have enough evidence now to destroy their entire operation. Michael looked at Danny. Are you ready for this to be over? I've been ready for 30 years, Danny said. The only thing I regret is that your father isn't here to see these people finally get caught. He is here, Michael said. I can feel him, and I think he's proud of us for doing the right thing. Outside, FBI cars were already heading toward locations where they knew the criminals would be. Vincent and Tony were about to be arrested at their hotel. Charles Oakley was about to be arrested at the airport as he tried to leave the country to be mourning the biggest sports gambling scandal in history would be headline news around the world. Michael Jordan's name would be connected to it, but as a hero who helped bring down the criminals, not as someone who was corrupted by them. But first, Michael and Danny had one more conversation to finish. About forgiveness, about friendship, and about what it meant to finally do the right thing after 30 years of carrying terrible secrets. Danny, Michael said, when this is all over, when you start your cancer treatment, I want you to stay at my house. I want to take care of you. Mike, you don't have to do that, Danny said. Yes, I do, Michael said. We're teammates now. Teammates. Take care of each other. Danny smiled through his tears. I never thought I'd live to see the day when Michael Jordan called me his teammate. You earned it, Michael said. What you did tonight took more courage than anything I ever did on a basketball court. As they waited for news about the arrests, Michael thought about his father. James Jordan had died protecting his son's integrity. Now, 30 years later, that integrity had helped bring down the people who killed him. It was the most important victory of Michael Jordan's life. And he had won it with the help of the man who had once been his greatest rival. But there was still one more surprise waiting for both of them. The next morning, news trucks surrounded the FBI building in Chicago. Reporters from every major news station in the country were trying to get information about the biggest sports scandal in history. 23 people had been arrested overnight, including Charles Oakley, Vincent, and Tony, Michael, and Danny. We're in a conference room with Agent Johnson, getting ready for a press conference. Danny looked tired but peaceful. For the first time in 30 years, he didn't have to carry any secrets. "Mr. Jordan," Agent Johnson said, "are you sure you want to do this press conference? You don't have to. We have enough evidence to prosecute everyone without your public statement." "I need to do this," Michael said. "The world deserves to know the truth. And I want other young players to understand what can happen if they get involved with gambling." Danny was sitting quietly in a corner, wearing a new suit that Michael had bought for him. His cancer treatment was scheduled to start the next week at the best hospital in Chicago. Michael was paying for everything. "You don't have to stay for the press conference," Michael told Danny. "This is going to be really hard. Lots of difficult questions." "I'm staying," Danny said firmly. "We started this together. We're going to finish it together." Agent Martinez knocked on the door. "It's time. There are about 200 reporters out there." As they walked toward the press conference room, Michael felt nervous. This was harder than any basketball game he had ever played. In basketball, the worst thing that could happen was losing. Today, he was about to tell the world that his greatest victory might have been tainted. But when they entered the room and Michael saw all the cameras and reporters, his competitive spirit took over. This was his chance to tell the truth and protect future players. He wasn't going to waste it. "Good morning," Michael said as he stepped up to the microphone. "Thank you all for coming. Today I want to tell you about something that has been hidden for 30 years. The room was completely quiet. Every reporter was hanging on Michael's words. In 1993, during the Eastern Conference playoffs, the game between the Chicago Bulls and New York Knicks was fixed, Michael said. Not by me, but by someone who was forced to make a terrible choice. Michael looked back at Danny, who nodded encouragingly. Danny Rodriguez, who is here with me today, was paid $500,000 to hurt himself during Game 7 of that series. He did it because his mother was dying of cancer and his family couldn't afford her medical treatment. Reporters started shouting questions, but Michael held up his hand for silence. Danny was just 24 years old, Michael continued. He was scared and desperate. The people who paid him were part of a criminal organization that has been fixing games for 30 years. Yesterday, the FBI arrested 23 members of this organization. A reporter from ESPN raised her hand. "Mr. Jordan, does this mean your victory in 1993 wasn't legitimate?" Michael had been expecting this question. "That's for other people to decide. What I know is that I played as hard as I could. I didn't know the game was fixed when it happened. But I understand if people question that victory now." Another reporter shouted, "Why should we believe Danny Rodriguez? He's admitted to cheating." Danny stepped forward to the microphone. "Because I have nothing left to lose," he said simply. "I'm dying of cancer. I'm homeless. I have no money and no family. The only thing I have left is the truth." The room got very quiet. Danny's honesty was powerful. "For 30 years, I've carried the guilt of what I did," Danny continued. "I've watched Michael Jordan be called the greatest player ever, knowing that I helped taint one of his victories. I couldn't die without telling him the truth." A reporter from the Chicago Tribune asked, "Mr. Rodriguez, what evidence do you have?" Danny held up the thick envelope he had been carrying for 2 years. Phone records, bank statements, photographs, and financial documents covering 30 years of game fixing. "The FBI has all of it now." Michael stepped back to the microphone. "But there's something more important than basketball that I need to talk about." The room leaned forward. What could be more important than the biggest scandal in sports history? "These same criminals murdered my father in 1993, Michael said. The room exploded with noise. Reporters were shouting questions and camera flashes were going off everywhere. "My father was approached by this gambling organization," Michael said, his voice getting stronger. "They wanted him to pressure me into missing shots in important games. When he refused, they killed him." "How do you know this?" a reporter yelled. "Because they told Danny," Michael said. "They used my father's murder as a threat to keep Danny quiet. For 30 years, Danny has known who really killed my father." Michael looked directly into the main TV camera. James Jordan died protecting his son's integrity. He died because he refused to let criminals corrupt the game of basketball. Today, we got justice for him. A reporter from Sports Illustrated asked, "Mr. Jordan, are you angry at Danny Rodriguez for keeping this secret so long?" Michael thought about the question carefully. "I was angry at first, but then I realized that Danny was a victim too. He was young and scared. These criminals threatened to kill his mother if he talked. I understand why he stayed quiet. "What's your relationship now?" another reporter asked. Michael smiled and put his arm around Danny's shoulders. "Danny Rodriguez was my rival for one basketball series. But he's been carrying guilt and pain for 30 years because of what happened to my family. Now he's my friend." The questions continued for another hour. Michael and Danny answered everything honestly. They talked about the fixed games, the murdered players, and the criminal organization that had been stopped. Finally, a young reporter from a college newspaper raised her hand. "Mr. Jordan, what do you want young basketball players to learn from this?" "I want them to learn that no amount of money is worth your integrity," Michael said. "Danny made one mistake when he was young, and it destroyed his life. But I also want them to know that it's never too late to do the right thing." Michael looked at Danny again. Danny Rodriguez showed more courage in the last week than most people show in their entire lives. "He risked everything to stop these criminals and get justice for my father." After the press conference, Michael and Danny went back to Michael's mansion. The whole world was talking about their story. Every news channel was showing highlights from the press conference. They sat in Michael's living room, watching the coverage on TV. Danny looked exhausted but happy. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Danny asked. "I know we did," Michael said. "Look at this." Michael pointed to the TV, where a college basketball player was being interviewed. The player was talking about how he had been approached by gamblers, but decided not to take their money after hearing Michael and Danny's story. "We probably just saved that kid's life," Michael said. Danny smiled. "Your father would be proud. He would be proud of both of us," Michael said. Over the next few weeks, more young players came forward with stories about being approached by gamblers. The FBI investigation grew bigger and bigger. Dozens more arrests were made. The entire criminal organization was destroyed. Danny started his cancer treatment at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. The doctors said the cancer was very advanced, but the treatment might give him extra time. Michael visited him every day. "I have something for you," Michael said during one visit. He handed Danny a small box. Danny opened it and gasped. Inside was a championship ring, not from the NBA, but from Danny's college days at Duke University. The same ring that had been taken from him when he lost everything. "How did you get this?" Danny asked with tears in his eyes. "I bought it back from the people who took it," Michael said. "I thought you should have it." Danny put the ring on his finger. It still fit perfectly. "Mike, I don't know how to thank you for everything you've done," Danny said. "You don't need to thank me," Michael said. "You gave me something more valuable than anything I could give you." "What's that?" Danny asked. "You gave me the truth about my father," Michael said. "You helped me understand that he died as a hero. That's worth more than all the money in the world." 6 months later, Danny Rodriguez passed away peacefully in his sleep at Michael Jordan's mansion. He was surrounded by the best medical care that money could buy. But more importantly, he was surrounded by friendship and forgiveness. At Danny's funeral, Michael gave a speech that surprised everyone. "Danny Rodriguez was called my rival," Michael said to the crowd. "But rivals compete against each other and then move on. Danny and I became something more important. We became teammates in the fight for truth." Michael looked out at all the people who had come to honor Danny. There were former basketball players, FBI agents, reporters, and young players whose lives had been saved by Danny's courage. "Danny made a mistake when he was young," Michael continued. "But he spent the rest of his life trying to make up for it. In the end, he saved more lives than that mistake ever hurt." The biggest surprise came at the end of Michael's speech. The Michael Jordan Foundation is creating the Danny Rodriguez Scholarship, Michael announced. "Every year, we'll give money to help young basketball players get an education. Players who might be tempted by gambling will have another choice. They'll have a chance to succeed the right way." As people left the funeral, they talked about the amazing story of two rivals who became friends. A story of mistakes and forgiveness. A story of courage and redemption. But most of all, they talked about how sometimes the greatest victories happen off the basketball court. Michael Jordan's response to finding his homeless former rival at his mansion had shocked everyone. But it had also changed the world of sports forever. Young players everywhere now knew that there were people willing to help them make the right choices. And in the end, that was more important than any championship, ring, or scoring record. The game was over. But the legacy would last forever. That we'd love to know. Where are you listening from today? Drop your city or country in the comments below. It's amazing to connect with people from all around the world who love inspiring stories like this one. If this story touched your heart or taught you something new, please give this video a like. It really helps us reach more people who need to hear these powerful messages about second chances and redemption. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell for many more interesting stories like this one. We share tales of courage, forgiveness, and real-life heroes who make a difference in the world. Most importantly, please share this video with your friends and family. Stories like Danny and Michael's remind us that it's never too late to do the right thing, and that kindness can change everything. Let's spread this message of hope and awareness together. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next story.